Hey everybody, I want to do a video today on the evaporator core replacement on the Dodge Ram, which is very common. Before I start, I want to just say that I used to work at an automotive shop, and I probably did at least 10 evaporator core jobs on Dodge Rams, so I'm pretty well versed in the process and getting the job done right. But it'd been about 10 years ago, so I actually went online and looked up some videos to try to refresh my memory of the process, and I actually found out that there was things that were kind of missed in other videos. They were pretty important, so I want to do some really helpful hints and fill you in, kind of fill in the blanks on the other videos what they didn't cover. And so I'm not going to do the whole process, but what I am going to do is try to give you any information that I can that they didn't. So first off, I want to say that in the other videos I noticed that they took the seats out and the center console completely out. And I also noticed that the vehicles they did with, they had the shorter cab. So I have the actual bigger cab in the back. So I was actually able to, I did take the center console out, but obviously it's in right now. But I was able to just take the center console out and unbolt my seats and unhook the plugs and just move them back. So I had enough room in the back to where I could do that, where you can't with the shorter cab. I think it's just the extended cab. Obviously you can see all my panels and everything. So that's one thing I noticed. So you can actually, what I did when I took the dash out, since I needed more room on the passenger side, I went ahead and moved this seat back more, took the dash, and actually just sat it on both of the seats without that console there. So you don't have to take the dashboard completely out of the vehicle if you have the bigger cab. You can actually just set it on the seats. Let me think of what else here. Oh yeah, right around this side real quick. I'm going to try not to spend too much time. Oh, here is the old coil. You can actually see somebody had put the UV liquid in it to try to detect the leak. But having as much experience as I do, even before I felt any difference in the temperature of the AC in my truck, I smelt the oil, the UV oil that they use for detecting leaks. I smelt it way before the AC went out, so I knew I was about to have a problem. But I actually kind of wasn't looking forward to doing the process, so I just kind of stalled. But it's starting to get hot here in Florida, so I was like, let me get on this. My wife said she's not going to ride in the truck anymore unless I get the AC fixed. So anyway, around this side real quick. So if you notice, there is this plug right here, and I saw in another video that the guy took all of the whole carpet up and unplugged. This goes under the console. There's a module it goes to. But what I did, I reached under the carpet and popped up the little plastic pieces that are on the studs, and I went ahead and just did a little slit right here in the carpet. Oh, let me move that. So this slit right here allowed me to not have to unplug it, basically, and it gave me enough room to where I can pull the dash out and set it on the seats with no issues. Let's see, another thing, the center console, or not the center console, but the steering column. So there's 4 nuts holding it on, and then the number 13 down where the shaft meets up. I'm not going to go over too thoroughly on this because other videos go over this really well, but I don't think they mentioned once you take those four nuts off, there's another two nuts that are silver that are basically like the last nuts take the last nuts to take the actual dashboard. So I had forgot about that because it'd been so long since I did one and I didn't see it in the other videos. So I was trying to take the dash loose, and I remembered it. Once you have everything loose, it comes out pretty easily. So I knew that I was forgetting a couple bolts, and they were actually, you have to remove this before you can actually get to the last two bolts that hold the, and they're 10 millimeters, they're silver, that hold the dash to the, actually the aluminum bracket underneath there. Let's see, I really go over the things that I remember weren't in the other videos. Obviously, in the other videos, they covered these bolts, the main bolts to hold the dashboard. There's 1, 2, 3, and then a nut right here. A nut that goes that way. Something else that I know that nobody covered that could be, and it's funny because I don't remember. I mean, once it happened, I remembered like it was yesterday. But so once you have this dashboard out and you have the evaporator box exposed, you have 4. I always get nuts and bolts mixed up, but you have 4 nuts. 2 on this side of the firewall and 2 on the opposite side of the firewall, which I'll show you in a minute. And then 1 bolt down low. So there's not a whole lot holding the evaporator box on. So once you get to that point, once you unbolt the 2 nuts on the top and the 1 bolt on the bottom, and then you're going to want to, behind this computer here, behind that computer, there's a bolt, there's a nut behind there. It's almost like right behind here, okay? And then the other one will be, which was it? It basically, if you take this off, that's one of the nuts that holds the evaporator box on also. So there's your the 2 nuts on this side of the firewall. And then, so once you take that all loose, you're gonna run into an issue, which I'm pretty sure every time I did one of these jobs, I ran into it. And this will be very helpful. Once you have everything loose, when you take that evaporator box and try to pull it off, it's not gonna want to come off. It's gonna feel like it's stuck to something. And what it's stuck to is the insulation behind the evaporator box. So your heater core lines are kind of exposed behind there. And what happens is the heater core line is right up against the insulation, the rubber insulation between the evaporator box and the firewall, and it will melt to it and it will stick to it. So you literally, once you break it loose, you have to pull it out a little bit and then reach your hand behind there, right where that line is, and pop it and push it away from it because it's literally melted to it. And let's see what else. Trying to think what else. I know there's more, but anyway, so oh yes, I think this is one of the last things really that I didn't see in any of the videos. So if you could see in the back where the heater lines hook up to the heater core, you can see me in the other videos. So basically, when you have your heater core lines on there for so long, they're not going to want to come right off. So I found a really, really helpful trick. When you get the evaporator box loose on the other side, because it's super hard to get pliers back in there. There's hardly any room. And those lines, like I said, they don't just come right off. So what you do is once you have the bolts, the nuts and the 1 bolt, and you have that line that's melted into the insulation, once you have that broken loose, pull the evaporator box, get the top line of the heater core from this side, from inside. So you pull the evaporator box out, get in there with some pliers, it's super easy, and break it loose. Once you do that, you push it back up against the firewall, and then pull it. It'll pull off really easy from on the other side at this point. And then once you do that, you can actually get to the lower line from the engine side, because it frees up some room. you can actually get some pliers in there and wiggle it loose just a little bit, because it's going to want to be stuck on there. And I really think that's about it. If I think of anything I could, add to this video. But that's really the things that I think that they just left out. The column, or the center console is really not that difficult. There's not a whole lot holding it on. You got the two 10s back here. Obviously this is not, hooked up, but you got the two 10s back here. You got a couple 10s right here. You got two screws on each side here. Obviously you need to remove your shifter. That's all. I felt like it was pretty easy. One helpful little tip also, once you have this panel, all the screws out of it, it almost seems like it doesn't want to come off, but you got to get your hands down here at the bottom on both sides. Let me get a good shot. On both sides, get your hands underneath and give it a good pop, just a little snatch, and it'll pop these clips out here pretty easily. Oh yeah, the one thing that I didn't see on any of the videos that was kind of helpful, would be helpful if they were in there, was the Torx bits. You need a Torx. You need a Torx T20, and it needs to be a little bit long to get up under. When this cover's on, there's 3 Torx bits, and it's T20, right? Yeah, T20, and you'll need a T20 to get up under there and get those. But it has to be skinny. You can't have, obviously the holes are really small, so you need a screwdriver type deal for that. And I think that about wraps it up. The videos that I watched were very informative, and I was definitely impressed. I'm glad people do this type of thing. It helps. It helps a lot. People want to save money. If you are mechanically inclined, this job takes time, but I wouldn't say it's that difficult. But then again, I've done 11, 12, 13, I don't remember. I just know there was a large amount. So, people, if you start getting a weird smell in your cab and you own a Dodge truck, the chances are you are going to be paying somebody to do this job or doing it yourself to save the money. And